Hello everyone. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe, and leave a comment saying where you're from and when you watched. That way, YouTube will continue to show you stories like this. Now, let's get started. Asterisk, after that fateful night, I returned to my apartment on the 12th floor in a state of panic. Every step I took down the long, quiet hallway, I always felt like someone was following me, watching my every move. When I slammed the door shut, I sat down on the chair, my whole body shaking as if I had just escaped a predator. I told myself that maybe it was all just a coincidence, that the man could be a stalker who had learned personal information through social media. But the more I thought about it, the colder my heart became, because I knew clearly that what he said could not be found publicly. That night, I could not sleep. The ticking of the clock echoed in the apartment, driving me crazy. I lay still on the bed, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. Then, in the thick silence, I heard a sound. At first it was very small, like the wind whistling through the door. But it became clearer and clearer. It was a voice, hoarse and cold, coming from the dark corner of the room. Daniel, Daniel. I froze. My whole body froze. I mustered up the courage to turn on the nightlight. A faint yellow light spilled out, but the room was empty. No one there. I got out of bed, trembling as I checked every corner. The closet was closed, the windows were bolted, the door was still locked. No one could have gotten in. I went back to bed, trying to reassure myself that maybe I was too tired to imagine. However, as soon as I lay down, the voice rang out again. This time, right next to my ear. I told you, this is just the beginning. I jumped up, screaming, but the apartment was still deathly silent. For the next few days, I lived in fear. During the day, I still tried to act normal, go to work, communicate with colleagues, but my eyes were always red from lack of sleep. At night, the voice would come again, sometimes from the living room, sometimes from the balcony, sometimes even from inside my head. The words he said were always repeated, emphasizing that he knew me, knew my every move. One evening, I tried to record it with my phone, hoping to catch the sound to prove that I was not crazy. I put the phone on the table, turned on the recording mode, and sat waiting. That night, I heard the voice again. Daniel, you can't hide. The next morning, when I played the recording, I was stunned. The whole voice was recorded, so clear, so creepy that I didn't dare listen to it a second time. It proved that I wasn't imagining things. Something really existed in this apartment. I showed the recording to a close colleague named Michael. He laughed awkwardly, saying that it was probably a prank someone had installed. But I noticed the confusion in his eyes. He advised me to change the Wi-Fi password, check the cameras in the apartment. But I knew that this was beyond what a human could do. I was falling into one of the true horror stories I had ever read. But this time, it was real, and I was the main character. The next night, I decided not to sleep. I turned on the lights, turned on the music, tried to stay awake. But around 3 a.m., the electricity in the apartment suddenly went out. The room was plunged into complete darkness. The music stopped, only the sound of my heart pounding. In the darkness, my eyes began to adjust. I saw a blurry figure standing motionless in the corner of the room. When I tried to squint to see more clearly, he disappeared as if he had never existed. I sat huddled on the bed until morning. When the sunlight filtered in through the gaps in the curtains, I realized that I was still alive. But in my heart, I knew clearly that the figure was the one who appeared in the garage. and now he followed me home. As time went on, his presence became more and more apparent. I heard footsteps in the hallway when I was sure no one was there. I saw long shadows behind me even though the light was only enough for one. I heard whispers behind my neck whenever I sat alone working. I tried to convince myself that I was haunted, but no, it was all too real to be just my imagination. One day, I decided to confront him. When the whispers came back, I shouted, "What do you want from me? Come out. The garage is not enough for you anymore." The echoing voice replied, long and drawn out like an echo of hell, "I want you." And then the eerie laughter echoed throughout the apartment, causing me to collapse, unable to stand. I began to fear my own apartment. What used to be a safe place had become hell. I didn't dare turn off the lights, didn't dare step out onto the balcony, even afraid to look in the mirror for fear that he would be standing behind me. My normal days had completely disappeared. Now I live in the dark, haunted by a mysterious person who knows every detail of my life. I wonder if everything has just begun, as he says. What will I have to face next? I don't know the answer yet, but I have a hunch that I am being led into a terrible game, where my sanity will soon be completely stolen. Asterisk. And then one night, when I opened my eyes in a fitful dream, I saw a figure sitting right next to my bed, staring at me without blinking. This time, he didn't disappear. Stay tuned for the next episode to see what happens when I face him directly in my own room.